Hello and welcome to the Captain's Table. I am your host, Dawn Deckman-Moeller, and today my guest is NigelPMiguel. Hi, Nigel. How you doing?
I'm fine. Thanks for having me on. Looking forward to talking to you guys and seeing what we can get into.
So glad to have you today. Nigel is a Belizean American actor. He is a film producer and a technical advisor. He was the former film commissioner for Belize. Today, he is the Goodwill ambassador for Belize. And he is also a former professional basketball player. A native of Belize, he immigrated to the United States when he was just 6 and holds dual citizenship with both countries. How you doing today?
Don, I'm doing well down here in usually sunny but a little rainy Belize. So today we have a change in the weather, but still glad and happy to be a part of your program.
Well, we sure appreciate it, and I am fortunate enough to have been to Belize 2 times in my life, and it is a beautiful country. We're going to take a real quick break and come back in a few minutes, and we'll hear more about your early life, Nigel. Please hold on, okay?
All righty.
Welcome back with our wonderful guest, NigelPMiguel. Nigel, I would love to hear about just, being born in British Honduras, which is obviously Belize. I'd like to hear a little bit about your early life and, the schools that you went to and just your journey in Southern California, if you would like to share a little bit about that.
Okay. Left Belize at the age of 6 with my parents, my mother, my father, and an aunt and my grandmother. It was kind of weird. My mother, father, and my aunt, or my cousin, I'm sorry, they took the bus to the U.S. And my grandmother, my aunt, my mother's younger sister, my Aunt Jeanette, and we took the plane, and that's how we got to the U.S.
They took a bus. That would have been a remarkable journey.
It was. I was fortunate to actually take that journey coming the other way. I drove a vehicle, some vans down from Los Angeles to Belize in 3.5 days. That's a different story. I don't want to jump too far ahead, but that was a business opportunity that I did about 20 years ago. And, we were doing a touring company and we needed vehicles, we needed vans. So I brought one down, my uncle brought one down, and then we hired a driver to bring one down. And we drove all the way from LA to Belize, which was an incredible experience. But like I said, I don't want to jump too far ahead of our format here.
Right. Well, that is that's amazing. You got to see the country while bringing a van for obviously some type of a professional endeavor. So you got there when you were 6 years old. Where did you all live in the Southern California area?
When we first got to LA, it was a place, 84th and Hoover, which is somewhat considered South LA, South Central LA. And my mother already had a sister living there. So we kind of moved close to her. And my early days was, spent a lot with, I'm an only child. So
I thought so. I didn't hear any brothers or sisters mentioned.
Yes, I have a lot of cousins, though. So never lacked from wanting to play or have playmates or whatever. But I've always been somewhat of a loner anyway. So, I spent a lot of time by myself at a young age on the basketball court. And, growing up around American kids, young kids, not really, knowing American society or whatever, but I know I like basketball, and that made me popular with, kids my age and even some of the bigger kids. So that was my security blanket, basketball.
Well, I understand that as you grew up and obviously spent a lot of time on those basketball courts, you ended up at one of my favorite high schools. Would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Well, the irony of how I got to Notre Dame High School in Sherman Oaks, California. I knew nothing about it, but I went to a school, an elementary school, a Catholic school called Ascension,
Yes.
which is like first grade to eighth grade. And the nuns that ran the school, I always remember our principal, Sister Donna Ann. She said that, she was the one that brought up Notre Dame to me. And another school called Crespi High School,
Hmm.
which is in Encino. Notre Dame in Sherman Oaks, Crespi in Encino. Most of the kids that I went to school with down there either went to Sarah High School, Verbum High School, or what's St. Bernard's. So I attended Notre Dame. We had a pretty good elementary basketball team. We were the runner-ups to the CYO championship my eighth grade year. So a lot of us were getting recruited. Ascension is a school that produced numerous athletes back in the day. So if I would have stayed in the area, I probably would have went to Sarah High School or Verbum High School.
Hmm.
But my journey was different. My seventh grade year, we moved from LA to the San Fernando Valley. But because of my parents wanting me to finish out my school, my early school years with the people that I grew up with, and then, like I said, we had an incredible basketball team. They made the sacrifice of driving me down from the Valley to Los Angeles every day so I can go to school for that year.
That's remarkable. I love that about your folks.
It really is. I didn't quite understand it, but as I got older, became a parent myself, and understood, that's remarkable. And they were able to, I had parents, both of them worked. But they always told me that, their commitment to me was just as important as anything else that they had in front of them. So I was very fortunate, very blessed to have those type of parents. My father is no longer with me.
I'm sorry.
He passed away. It's been a while since he's passed away. It's almost about 20 years. But my mom is still around, just as strong and, full of life. So I really, like I said, I appreciated them when I was younger, but as I got older, man, I just know how fortunate and blessed I was.
It's an amazing story, and I think about, when we reflect on our lives, we think about the people that have been mentors. And I made a little note here that Sister Donna, she sounds like she was an important figure in your life. And of course, your parents just allowing you to have that growing up time with your friends. Is your mom with you in Belize?
No, my mom still lives in Southern California. She visits from time to time, but I've tried to get her to move down here, but she's pretty set, with her. She has her church, she has her community of friends, and while she misses me and would love to be here, it's kind of twofold. That was always my father's desire for them to later on in life come back to Belize, and my father do some consulting for the government and some of the other opportunities that are down here. But when he passed away back in 2002, I think it was, yeah, because I got married in 2003, so late 2002. She kind of, that was their dream. That was his dream. So I think she kind of just got set in her ways and just decided, I'm just going to stay here. I'll come and visit, stay here, yeah, and do my thing. I'm fortunate that I get to come out to LA a lot because of the film industry, and I got to spend a lot of time with her. I try to hire her when I can on stuff that we're doing. So I really appreciate, just having her in my life.
I love that. My mom was in the film business, and she'd hire me every now and then to help her with props. I wasn't that great at it, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's we bring our family in. Um, I made a note also, kind of pivoting to the CIF. That's something I'm familiar with. Growing up in the Valley, I'm a Burbank,
All right.
California girl. So the
Okay.
California Interscholastic Federation. Tell me a little bit about your involvement in that organization.
Well, that was the federation that all sports, and at that point, Catholic schools
Mm-hmm.
competed in. Now, I think it's a little different now. You got Catholic and non-Catholic or public schools that compete under that banner. But when I was in school, the CIF, the highest division was 4A, and that's the division Notre Dame High School competed in the Del Rey League. It was a great thing. Uh, High school sports in Southern California is a big deal,
Yes.
and it was a wonderful proving ground and learning arena for me. I made a lot of friends through the sport of basketball, and being all CIF was something that you look forward to being named at the end of each season, and then in the preseason, if you did well last year, say if you were all CIF last year, obviously preseason they put out those rankings, and you're there. So CIF was a big thing.
It was a really big thing. I remember I was a cheerleader and going to the different CIF conferences with the football teams or basketball teams. So I'm a little bit familiar, but that's something to be proud of. You also attended a college. We had in Southern California, you're like, I'm going to go to UCLA or USC, those were the two big universities. But tell me a little bit about how you decided to attend UCLA.
Well, it came down to those two schools, USC and UCLA, and I must tell you that my father is a UCLA alumni.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
yeah, and that so I was brainwashed from a young age. From the time that we lived in Southern California, my dad would take me up to UCLA campus,
It's beautiful there,
and
right in
it's
Brentwood.
awesome. It is one of the top five, and has always been one of the top five campuses in the country.
Absolutely. You've got Westwood right there, and that was a
And
hopping place.
yes, so and even you add that in, so that's a plus. That's something extra. But just being on campus, you know, when I was there, it was about 35,000 students. I'm not
Wow.
sure what the breakdown was between undergrad and graduate students, but we had about 35,000 students. Like I said, beautiful campus. My college life was the greatest. Even times when like basketball wasn't going the way I wanted it to, um, the campus life and just that whole experience was incredible. Wouldn't change it for the world. Now, going back to how the decision was made for me to go there, I had a teammate and a very close friend um, named Gary Melanson, and he went to Crenshaw High School. And I had spoke to him, and we were both getting recruited at the same time.
Exciting.
Um, Stuart Gray, who was my Valley, you know, partner, who went to Kennedy High School, had already decided to go to UCLA. I was like one of the last. I was the last out of the four that went that year. Which Brad Wright came, and like I said, Gary Melanson, and then myself. Um, I told Gary, because he was saying, "Man, I'm thinking about going to USC." Kind of like Coach Stan Morrison, and Coach Morrison was an incredible, charismatic recruiter, great coach. He was good. Um, it came down to those two schools, and like I said, I didn't decide where I was going to go until late in the game. And I told Coach Morrison, I said, look, I said, if Gary Melanson says he's going to USC, then I'll follow Gary as well. And because Gary had told me he was up in the air, he wasn't sure, and all this stuff. And it's just so funny. Like 2 days after I had that conversation with Coach Morrison, because he told me he thought that they had a lock on Gary.
Uh-huh.
I look in the paper. I wake up in the morning and it's in the Valley Times section.
The Valley Times.
And it talks about Melanson decides and he commits to UCLA. And I was like, oh man. So, that kind of sealed it for me as well. I just I loved my college experience.
I just think that's fantastic. Who was your coach?
Well, we got recruited by Larry Brown.
Okay.
Who at that time was sort of like the darling of college basketball. Came over. He's a North Carolina guy, Tar Heel, played at North Carolina, went on to play professionally, but he was like, if you ever say somebody was born to be a coach, he falls in that category. Coach Brown came to UCLA from the pros.
Yes.
So he kind of brought, that open style of play and really communicating with your players. I can remember the recruiting process with him. It really felt like you were a part of the family. Like when Coach Brown would come to the games, he would make sure all these other players would come, the current players and all that. So it was really that family feel to it. And I like that. And then he left before we even got to school there. He took a job with the Nets.
Oh.
It was always a money thing with him at the end of the day.
Well, part of it a little bit, right?
Pardon me?
It's part of it. It depends on how you...
Very much.
Yeah.
Business needs to be taken care of. But back then, the UCLA job didn't pay like some of these other jobs. Yes, it was a prestigious job and everybody coveted being the coach at UCLA, but the salary wasn't up there with some of these other places.
Yes.
So, Coach Brown was always, that was always a sticking point. And plus, too, it's UCLA, but at the end of the day, it's a state school. So,
Exactly.
People kind of forget that,
What I want to do is, in just a second, we're going to take a real quick break for our sponsors and then come back. And I'd like to hear a little bit about the All Pac-10 honors, okay?
Okay.
So just stand by for a few minutes here. We'll be back. Welcome back to the Captain's Table. My guest is NigelPMiguel, and we were talking about his early college career in basketball and wanted to hear a little bit about some of your honors that you had while playing at UCLA.
Well, coming into college, highly decorated, McDonald's All-American, Parade All-American, top 20 high school players in the country. A lot was expected. For whatever reason, it took me a while to adapt and adjust to college basketball. I had some great players ahead of me, so that was part of the reason. It was just tough for me to get on the court. Had some success, spotty success during my first couple of years at UCLA. And then I actually get into the starting lineup my junior year, and I lose my starting position like halfway through the season. Gain it back the last couple of games in the year, and we just had a horrible, horrible year my junior year. Started out the season ranked in the top 5. I mean, I don't know what went wrong, but we started out 11-1,
Yeah.
and then we ended up 17-11.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, it just didn't work out. So there was a coaching change between my junior and senior year.
That can always make a difference too.
Well, it did for me.
Mm-hmm.
Went from Larry Farmer to a gentleman by the name of Walt Hazard, who is another former great at UCLA. Won the first championship under him for Coach Wooden, and that was the change I needed. He gave me a fresh start, put confidence back in, like a broken down vessel.
Sure.
It was night and day. Not to say that Coach Farmer didn't do a solid job of coaching or whatever, but that scenario just didn't work for me, and that's how things go sometimes. But I flourished under Coach Hazard, and so did the team. We ended up winning the NIT that year.
See?
22-win season. As you said, I was an all-conference first-team player.
Yes.
I was Defensive Player of the Year within the Pac-10. All-conference, not all-conference, but all-tournament team in the NIT.
The 1985 National Invitation Tournament Championship.
Yeah, it just, that year was what I expected all the years that I was at UCLA to be like on the court.
What a great way to finish your senior year. I mean,
yeah, it was good for everybody. It was great for me, but it was good for the team. Coach Hazard came in his first year, some recognition back to the program. We had a lot of interest in UCLA and what was happening, on campus.
Yes. I had made a note with doing a little bit of research that you had graduated from UCLA in 1985 with a degree in political science, and I find it fascinating that you are currently Belize's first Goodwill ambassador.
Interestingly, what's that saying? A man plans, and God laughs at man's plans.
Well spoken.
How it is, or how it comes out to be. Very few, have things work out exactly how they want it. But that was always my desire, to come back to my country after a long, illustrious career in the NBA. I said I would come back and do something to assist the country with the relationships that I had made over the years, and doing something with sports and just humanity. I've always been someone who's cared about what's going on with the other person. My father always taught me to invest in people.
Oh, good advice.
That is,
sure,
what you do, because somebody invested in me. I've been blessed so much, and some of the people that have done stuff for me, I can't go back and do stuff for them. So they've always told me, you do for the next, and that's the way I've always tried to live my life. So the whole political science was planned that I would come back to Belize and be a person of influence and help the country, help people inside of the country, and bring light on a place that I think that is very special.
Well, I just love that story, and I think we're going to, in our third segment, talk a little bit more about that. And I love the advice from your father to invest in people. That's the most important thing we can do. Let's pivot back to your MBA career. I'd like to hear a little bit about that. I know our audience would too.
Well, After 1985, I got drafted by the Nets, which it's like, again, ironic. The coach who I wanted to have in college uh, left UCLA to go coach in New Jersey. And, I still believe that even though he wasn't the coach there at the time, uh, they had a heavy influence on, you know, NBA is a small family, so a good word from a Coach Brown.
Mm-hmm.
I think at that point he might have been at Kansas, University of Kansas at that time, but he knew all the folks in the organization. And the assistant coach by the name of Dave Wall was the new head coach of the Nets, and Dave Wall was an assistant under Pat Riley for the Lakers, so he
Pat
was somewhat
Riley, yeah.
familiar with my game, and so I think that had something to do with it too. There was an alumni, a family friend, Mr. Danzig. He was part of the Larry Brown regime, Coach O'Connor regime, and he and his wife, they would always make sure that whenever there was a scout or a coach or somebody in the stands at UCLA, they would always make sure that they kept their eye on number 25. So I think Mr. and Mrs. D also had a lot to do with me getting drafted there.
That's a great story. Mr. and Mrs. D and Sister Donna.
Yeah, wow. Yep. There's something there with the D's.
Something there with the D's. I love that. Well, you had did you have a 2-year contract
Okay.
offer with the Nets?
Well, yes, I'm sorry. That year, I had a tall task in front of me. They had 4 guards with guaranteed contracts.
Okay.
Otis Birdsong, Michael Ray Richardson, Darwin Cook, and Kelvin Ramsey. Those were the guards that were ahead of me when I got drafted. Now, they were saying that they were trying to move 1 or 2 of those guards before I came into camp, but it didn't happen. So I was like the last cut at the end of the preseason. Played well in camp, held my own, played well preseason, but there just wasn't any room for me. So I got released, and I went to the CBA. I'm not familiar. I don't know if you're familiar with the CBA, but it's
I'm not.
sort of like the farm league, like what the minor leagues for baseball.
Oh, like AAA.
AAA, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now they call it, instead of the CBA, they call it the G League in today's version of basketball landscape. Didn't really want to go to the CBA because I really thought that, like I said, that I played well enough to make the team. And, I was somewhat having a pity party for myself. Looking at my dream was shattered,
Sure.
So before I went to camp, I came home to LA for about a week.
Uh-huh.
Left New Jersey, came back to LA before I had to report to CBA camp.
And where was the CBA camp at?
La Crosse, Wisconsin.
Oh, fun. Okay.
I never knew anything about it.
But you went home first.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Tell me about that week.
That week, talked with my parents. I had a girlfriend at that time who was still in school at UCLA. I was like, well, what am I going to do? And, I knew I still wanted to pursue basketball. And, on your way out, you have what they call a exit meeting
Mm-hmm.
with the head coach and the staff, and maybe you'll talk to a general manager, whoever.
Yes.
And they tell you what you need to do, or what you did well. They kind of paint a picture for you to help you continue to make strides in reaching your goal.
Sure.
To be an NBA player. I would tell you this: once you get in that room with the coach and management, after they say we're releasing you and they tell you, well, you could get picked up by somebody else after you clear waivers.
Yes.
It's 48 hours. They give you all the technical jargon. It sort of sounds like, Charlie Brown,
Oh.
that wah, 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 everything.
Right. The adults
Yeah,
talking.
they could be saying anything. The only thing you heard was like, we're releasing you.
I
That's it.
understand completely.
So, like I said, you hear all that, and then, you kind of like, hey, man, you got to tighten up. You
Mm-hmm.
have to, this is it. And then you get to the part about you are eligible or you're required to, if you want to continue playing basketball associated with this NBA, your NBA team, you have to go to the CBA, and this is the team that we're partners with.
Right.
And, Lacrosse, Wisconsin, Lacrosse Catbirds. I never knew anything about lacrosse. I never knew anything about Wisconsin, really, other than
It's cold.
Milwaukee Bucks, frozen tundra, Green Bay.
Great beer.
Yeah, nothing. So, like I said, I go home and I talk to my dad and my mom, and they're like, if you want to keep playing, this is what you're doing. And so then I started to look at it as another opportunity.
Very well.
Not oh man, you got to go to the CBA. This is a chance for you to prove yourself, to show. And I would tell you this much, that my CBA experience with the lacrosse Catbird for Lacrosse, Wisconsin was second to none.
Oh, that's great.
First of all, the people there. The team had just moved from Kentucky, because that's where they were. They were in Kentucky, and then new ownership took over. Some businessmen out of lacrosse. They used to own supermarkets. They took over and bought the team, and so they brought the Catbirds to lacrosse. So I was there for the inaugural season.
Wonderful.
Of the Catbirds in Wisconsin. And the people from Lacrosse, Wisconsin are the greatest.
Isn't that remarkable?
Oh man. Yeah, it was. And they treated us so special. They treated me extremely well, just because I don't know what it was, but they had a thing about UCLA and Southern California. So I stepped in there, and
you were famous.
I got treated. Yeah, they really, really made me feel at home, and welcomed. And the owners there, I'm in the CBA, and they give me a shoe contract, because they had shoes. So they had a shoe that they were trying to pitch.
Yeah.
I remember the lacrosse defenders, and the owner of the team was like, "Look, Nigel, we want you to wear this shoe. You're a defensive player of the year, blah, blah, blah."
Yes.
All this kind of stuff. The name of this shoe is the Defender. We're going to give you, and it wasn't that much money. I think it was like $2,500.
That's a lot of money then.
To sign. Yeah, to sign. And then there were like incentives. I was doing commercials, all kind of stuff there. And
that is so exciting.
Yeah, it was cool. All these other guys on the team, yeah, they had Nikes, Adidas, but they weren't getting paid to wear them. They weren't like doing appearances for that kind of stuff. And so I embraced that. And then, like I said, the team itself, the ownership, we got paid on time. We got, all little things that you would hear these horror stories about some of these other teams in other cities. Like the guys, man, we ain't been paid in 2 weeks, that kind of stuff. Or they get paid and their checks bounce, just crazy things. Never heard anything like that happen in lacrosse. Our games, we played in this beautiful arena, 5,000 people. always sold out our home games. Always.
That is absolutely fantastic. I mean,
Yeah.
what an upstanding organization. We're going to take a real quick commercial break to hear something from our sponsors, and we'll come right back and learn a little bit more about your entertainment career and kind of wrap it up with the work that you're doing for the beautiful country of Belize. Stand
All right.
by. Well, welcome back to the Captain's Table. This is our final part of our show today. We have been enjoying listening to Nigel P. Miguel, and what a great, great life story you have, sir. And I know you're very young, so
Yeah.
we'll have to interview you in a few years to hear what else you're doing. But let's talk a little bit about your entertainment career. Love to hear about one of the favorite movies you worked on and how did that come about?
Um. Well, like I said, it all stems back to basketball. I tell people that, basketball has been such a blessing to me. It allowed me to travel. It's allowed me to meet some of the, greatest folks
Yeah, because I was thinking when
in
you
the
were doing the
world.
commercials for your shoe, that would have been something that maybe you were just kind of aware of being on the set and
Well, that if we're talking about like with lacrosse and all that, that kind of just came out of left field. That was just like a blessing from God. I didn't expect any of that, but I guess subconsciously, yeah, it did. I've always had a desire and a fondness of cameras, but mainly from me taking the pictures as
hmm
opposed to having the pictures being taken of me. Um, in high school, Notre Dame High School, that was a place that entertainers would send their kids
yes.
to go to school. A lot of the kids that were there were in the industry. You know, um, my thing was sports, and being an athlete, the top athlete on campus. You get to mix and schmooze with everybody,
Yeah.
and like I said, it was a great experience. And again, go back to, like I said, my security blanket was basketball, and that opened a lot of doors for me, even socially. You know,
hmm
Notre Dame is an all boys school, but as I got older and stuff, basketball opened doors for girls, and everything as well,
Yes.
because it's a common ground. Let's just say that people can always relate to. But entertainment wise, my last year at UCLA, I befriended through a mutual friend, a gentleman by the name of Lee Majors, who was who
I
was
know who Lee Majors is. I don't know him personally. That's
Fall
amazing.
Guy. I don't. You remember that show, Fall Guy?
Of course I do.
Yeah. Okay. So there was a young lady that and I cannot remember her name right now, but it will come to me. Sonny Vaccaro is a basketball name, and entertainment too, but more so for basketball. He was the guy in Nike that helped Michael Jordan come to Nike, helped Kobe
hmm
actually go to Adidas, but then come back to Nike. Sonny V was the original talent scout when it came to high school basketball and AAU teams and all that. So I knew Sonny from AAU. He used to help sponsor our team, ARC, American Roundball Corporation, and that AAU team out of the Valley, headed by a guy by the name of Rich Goldberg.
hmm
Um, so Sonny uh, introduced me to I remember the young lady's name, Dana. I can't remember her last name, but
Another
Dana.
D. Dana.
Yeah, Dana was a like a young lady that she was an actress, but she suffered from diabetes, but she loved basketball. And I remember them coming to Dana and Sonny and I can't remember who else it was that came to one of our practices. And Sonny introduced me to Dana. Dana introduced me to Lee Majors and the people at Fall God. Dana just wanted to have tickets to come to the UCLA game, and she would introduce me. She said, "I'll get you access to 20th Century Fox. It's right around the corner
Right.
from there." Blah blah. So that's exactly how it started.
Oh my
You know,
gosh.
and I would go to the set, and they would come to the games, and
What a great trade.
yeah, it was. It really was. And that's how I really got into the industry. And just sitting there, I realized, hey, I like this. I'm interested. I like the creativity. And so the first things that I got were basketball associated parts, or people that knew me from basketball would offer me parts. Dennis Hopper. I did a movie called Colors, which Dennis Hopper was
Oh my goodness.
directing.
Love him.
And I get into the interview, and he just starts talking about basketball. So the interview goes for about 20 minutes, and I haven't even read my line yet. And then he says, "Oh, I guess we better get back to what we're here for." And he said, "Man, you got the part, all right."
Oh.
He says, "That's before I started reading." He said, "We'll have something for you in this movie."
Oh,
and
that's fantastic. I love that story.
So that was like my first real.
That's a big deal. That's a big deal.
I was doing commercials. I was playing a basketball player, so big deal. But what that did, it allowed me to be around the camera. It allowed me to be on set. You learn the processes and all that stuff. And I'm that type of guy that if I get involved with something,
yes,
I want to know it all. So I started studying. I started doing things that would allow me to be more of an actor, or at least a person that's serious about the industry.
Were you also a body double for Michael Jordan?
Well, yes, I met Michael when we were seniors in high school, and we played in the McDonald All-American game,
okay,
the Capital Classic, and the East-West game, and we were roommates.
Oh,
and just kind of hit it off. A lot of similarities in our upbringing, middle class background. Both parents at home. Now, he had brothers and sisters. I was an only child, but heavily influenced by our dads, supportive mom,
yes,
those type of things. So we hit it off. And when he became this mega star and working with Nike,
yes,
they were always looking for something to make the athletes feel comfortable on set. When dealing with someone like Michael, you would only get him for a small period, a small window. So he might be there 3-4 days shooting the commercial, but out of those 3-4 days, you will get in for 5 to 6 hours. That's it.
Right.
So a lot of stuff you come in and do, you get the close-up face, you get the stuff where you actually know that's MJ. A lot of that other stuff, I would end up shooting after he's gone, and just to complete the shot list and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So after about 2 or 3 years of casually doing that, his well, not executive assistant, but someone within his team, Esty Ponte, I think is her name, was the one who actually helped pull the trigger to where I became like his official guy. And that happened right after we were doing Space Jam.
Oh, my goodness.
She said, well, Michael seems to like you, and you know what you're doing with this industry. I'm going to make sure that whenever stuff comes up for him, that you're our guy. And for about a 7-year run, I did, practically everything for him on all of his brands, especially Nike, WorldCom, Hanes.
Oh God, I remember those ads.
Where was he? He had a line of a cologne line with I can't remember the gentleman's name. Oh wow, Bijan.
Oh, okay. Yes,
Yeah.
Bijan. Sure.
Yeah. So it was, like I said, it was an amazing 3 years. I got a chance to be an, integral part of his world when it comes to that. The stuff that guy was able to do, the amount of commerce that he generated, it was just amazing to see the day to day of someone like that.
Well, I love that you knew each other. You were, back to basketball.
Yes.
And with the the McDonald's All American honors together, and that you got to work together like that. God has really done some amazing things in your life. I have a note here that you own a 2Jam casting and production company.
I own production company, 2Jam Casting. We actually merged that. Now it's called Film Belize, hashtag Film Belize.
Oh, good to know.
Listeners can, tap into that. That would be greatly appreciated. We sell shirts. We do stuff to help raise money for young kids wanting to get into the entertainment industry. We give scholarships here in Belize. And we just actually started a media group called Belize Media Group, BMG, with my partners, Art Thomas and Gerald. Why am I drawing a blank on Gerald's name? I apologize. But Art Thomas and Gerald, we are wanting to do something again to put Belize on the map. So our motto is produced in Belize, but made for the world.
Oh, and it's a great motto.
I am very excited about what's going to come from that venture.
Well, goodness gracious, you're now the Goodwill ambassador for Belize. And I had mentioned to you, I've been there a couple of times in my life, on the one of the Keys and in the Cayo district. It's just a beautiful country, and the people there are so kind and loving. And the food is great, and there's a wonderful beer called Belican Beer.
Belican Beer, yep.
Belican Beer. But tell me a little bit more about your personal passion for, young people today involved in sports. What would be maybe, some good words of advice to our listeners today?
I will tell you this much. My wife and I, we have a mentoring program called Water Walkers.
Water
Boys and
Walkers.
Girls Club.
Okay.
Water Walkers Boys and Girls Club. She is my wife's name is Julie.
Julie.
She is the backbone of that, and I sit here. And I always get a lot of credit for things, but I'm more of a support piece for her with that, because she does the day to day. What I've been very fortunate in being able to do is to bring recognition to that. You ask about young people, or if I had some advice for young people in sports or entertainment or whatever, just in life, I would tell them, strive to make a difference. Strive to be successful, yes, but successful to a point where you can be significant in the lives of others. That's very important. The way things are and the way we're going in life, we're getting back to a point where you will have to reach out to that person next to you or behind you or in front of you, whatever. You can't be a one-man show. I don't know if it's God's way of forcing us to be more, to show more humanity to others and connect. But there's going to come a time, especially if we continue to go, and young people will play a big part of this, because just the way things are with internet and social media and everything, everybody is right there. Nobody is that far away that you can't communicate or you can't get in touch with them. So I would tell young people, look to be more a part of your existence. Don't rely specifically on your elders or your parents or whatever, because nowadays you actually have the capacity to make those clear-cut decisions to help yourself and others and make this place a better place to exist in. So that would be like my big send off when we talk to kids, we do these things within the community. My life, while the movies, the commercials, the entertainment, that's glamorous when you actually get to the finished product. But the day-to-day grind of getting it done isn't very glamorous. And the day-to-day grind of making sure people, the needy, their needs are met, to the capacity that you can help. But my day-to-day life is, my wife telling me to take the trash out, then, or pick this up, or why didn't you do that?
Keeps you humble.
Yes, it does. But then I also get a chance to pick up the phone, or she'll see something of me and hear somebody talk about, because she doesn't know, she's only getting bits and pieces of my life. And the 20 years that we've been married, like I said, I'm her husband. I'm the guy that, maybe leaves their underwear where it shouldn't be, that kind of thing. But outside of that, we do what we have to do to better our existence and other folks. Belize is a small place, so I don't care what lofty goals you reach, you cannot see poverty. You cannot see someone struggling, and it affects you. You have to acknowledge it, and you have to want to do something about it if you can. You should, and that's my life. I want to be successful or continue to be successful because it allows me to help a larger amount of the society that's here that need it. Well, I like this industry. I like giving people jobs. I like when someone gets to experience that thing that I experienced, because I know how of a great feeling that was, that, when you get that call from your agent or the casting director or whatever, you got the part.
You got the part.
That's an amazing feeling. And I if you're just hearing about it, there's a certain bit of excitement or whatever. But if that actually happens to you in a little place, this small country called Belize, that, they don't know anything about what it really takes or what it really took to, be on this show or whatever. I still get recognized down here for White Man Can't Jump. That's 30 years ago.
Well, we are, we're going to have to maybe dive a little bit deeper into some of the films like White Men Can't Jump when we get to talk to you next time. Your dad said to invest in people, and you've had some very interesting forks in the road, Nigel. You have a wonderful story, and I know that our listeners will really enjoy hearing this podcast with you. I was honored when I knew that I was going to get to have you as a guest. So until next time with the Captain's Table, we'll bring you back, and that would be fantastic. Would that work for you?
I would love to come back, because, there's so much that we didn't get a chance to talk to, but I thank you for the opportunity, for allowing me to share my life and to share, my little country here, Belize. I would love for any of the listeners to come, look me up, hashtag Film Belize. And if you're ever in Belize, definitely look me up. I'm not that hard to find. We're right here on Albert Street, like I like to tell people, and come check us out.
Thank you so much, Nigel P. Miguel. We sure appreciate it. You all have a great day.